Okay guys, I'm not going to be going over every sandbox change because over the past like 6-7 TWABs, there's been sandbox changes mentioned in each one of those. Now I'm going to go over some of the major game-changing sandbox updates that we knew about, and simultaneously, I'm going to go over what we didn't know about, which was revealed to us alongside the Witch Queen patch notes. Now we're going to start with the major things you're going to notice right off the bat. First up, removal of orb generation on masterwork weapons. Yes, we knew about this a long time ago. It still hurts. There's now 6 new permanent helmet mods that have been added and automatically unlocked for everyone. Now these do include Kinetic Siphon for generating orbs with kinetic weapons, Harmonic Siphon for generating orbs on rapid weapon final blows with weapons matching your subclass type, and an equivalent mod to generate orbs for each of the 4 damage types. Needless to say guys, generating orbs, you're gonna have to jump through a few hoops. They also reduced the cost of changing energy type for a fully masterwork piece of gear. This is a huge change. Fully masterwork legendary armor now only costs 10,000 glimmer, and an upgrade module to change the energy type. Now fully masterwork exotic armor now only costs 20,000 glimmer and an upgrade module. So no reason to burn ascendant shards here and other things. Now inside of Crucible, players now only drop 1 special ammo on death or equivalent no matter how much they were carrying as long as they weren't empty. Now scavenger mods do still add to this. In Crucible, Sunbreaker Sunspot damage versus players have been reduced from 250 HP per second to 75 HP per second. This is obviously in regard to the new Titan exotic that will allow you to reduce a sunspot when critically wounded. No lie, that's pretty unfortunate. That is a ginormous nerf. I love sunspots inside of PvP, but that right there is a killer. In Crucible, reduce blinding and concussion grenade damage by 25%. Exotic pulse rifle got a crazy buff in damage versus minor enemies. So 54% increase in damage versus minor enemies, which is that 40% exotic primary buff that was handed out to everything, as well as the individual 10% pulse rifle buff as well. Fellas, if you haven't used Graviton Lance, use it. Exotic trace rifle also got a buff versus minor enemies by 40%. A lot of people kept assuming that because exotic trace rifles take special ammo, that it didn't get that buff. No, it also got that buff. So Agriceptor, Runa's Effigy, Prometheus Lens, Cold Heart, Wave Splitter, etc. Those weapons got that buff. Now Mobius Quiver actually had a super change and now fires those 2 volleys of 3 void arrows. You've probably already seen it. The Orpheus Rig exotic boots now give Mobius Quiver a 3rd volley. Weapons of Light and its outgoing damage bonus has been reduced from 35% to 25%. The new seasonal artifact is no longer capped at 12 unlocks. Now you can eventually unlock all 25. This is a huge change. I know the artifact mods this season look underwhelming. We're looking for the synergy right now though. The main thing is a lot of them are low cost mods. So having things like the Avarice armor really helps here as you can slot on more of these mods. Now Xur now sells unique rolls for Hawkmoon, Deadman's Tale that change each week to go along with the other assorted god rolls that Xur could potentially bring. Banshee and 81 now offer 4 mods instead of 2, and both their mod inventories are different from one another. So 8 mods in total. This is a big help for new players that have missing mods or even players returning. So fellas, hit up Banshee, hit up Ada, go ahead and get those mods so you can start perfecting those builds. Grenades that were not accessible to a class prior to the Witch Queen launch can now be purchased for Glimmer from Ikora in the tower, who is the Void vendor. Now, when you purchase it from Ikora, you want to purchase the grenades, and then right next to Ikora, you want to meditate. Meditate, and that will actually sync the grenade to your subclass or whatever Void abilities. So whatever you pick up from Ikora, just make sure you meditate before leaving. Outside of that, guys, yes, Void 3.0 is live, as well as the new weapon type, the Glaive. We'll be reviewing both of those at some other point. Now, major sandbox changes that were revealed with the Witch Queen patch notes. First up, Protective Light got a pretty ginormous nerf, and I mean ginormous. Its damage reduction has been reduced to 10%, which is down from 50%. Long story short, fellas, for me personally, Protective Light is off the table. I will be using other means to give me damage reduction in next week's raid. Well of Tenacity's damage reduction has been increased to 50%. Now here's the dev note on the change. He states that Protective Light was previously too dominant and felt too much like a must-take mod. By swapping the damage reduction value of Protective Light and Well of Tenacity, Protective Light should no longer feel like a mandatory part of every loadout, and players will need to choose between smaller but longer lasting amount of damage reduction on demand when wounded versus a short duration but stronger amount of damage reduction when picking up Void Wells with Wells of Tenacity. That is the trade-off, guys. Protective Light allows you to carry that charge with you to then deploy when critically wounded. Well of Tenacity, though, gives you that ginormous damage reduction, but only right after picking up the well. Personally, I'm going to be playing with void wells more going into next weekend. Now, finisher mods have also been reworked. They can now always be performed even when using mods that require super energy, even if you don't have the required amount of super for that mod's ability to activate it. So simply put, guys, you can still get a finisher off even if you don't have the super energy. You just won't get the benefits. Say, for instance, if you have a special finisher or some other finisher that would drop ammo, you won't get those benefits if you don't have the super energy to trade for it. But you won't be in a situation when you're like, yo, why can't I finish this enemy? You'll still be able to finish them. You just won't get the benefits. Now, Rat King and the Hunter Helmet Exotic Assassin's Cow have been updated to use the Nude Void invisibility buff. I don't know if you guys have been playing Crucible. I'm seeing lots of hoppity hunters going invisible, and I gotta say, it is aggravating the piss out of me. Helm of Saint 14 has also been updated to use the new Void Overshield buff. We'll have to mess around with that a little more. For the Hunter class, Heart of the Pack buff has been deprecated. This was revealed during the DCP podcast, but not officially revealed until the Witch Queen patch notes. Now for the Titan class, we actually got Tactical Strike and Defensive Strike melees both deprecated, as well as the Turn the Tide subclass passive perk. Again, these were tied to the other previous light subclasses, and for Warlocks, they actually deprecated Entropic Pool, Devour, and Atomic Breach melee abilities, and the Dark Matter subclass passive perk. Now understand, those things have been deprecated, but in a lot of ways, they've been put into fragments, right? Or aspects, or even built into the class. So even though that looks like a bummer, I can tell you right now from personal experience, playing with Void 3.0 on all the classes, it's nasty. So I know this looks bad. I know there's probably a hunter right there that's like, yo, where is Heart of the Pack? No lie, I feel for my hunters, because Heart of the Pack was pretty good. Now the following catalysts now have a chance to drop when completing Vanguard, Crucible, or Gamut activities. And this is Hawkmoon, Dead Man's Tale, Agar Scepter, Outbreak Perfected, Whisper of the Worm, and the Fourth Horseman. Now, we knew that we were going to be able to attain these in some sort of way, but it's just essentially dropping from all the ritual playlists, which is fantastic. Also, FYI, a Love Monarch catalyst is also dropping. Yes, we'll be reviewing that at some point. Outside of that, guys, I do want to just cover exotic weapons real quick. Chaperone, of course, did get that passive range nerf. Where it used to have that extra 2 meters, it's now only half a meter. Duality also got a nerf, and its range as well, but it's pellet mode, so from the hip, it's still the same. Black Wings also no longer clears on reload, so it actually should be performing better inside of PvE. Now, Terra buff now reduces perk progress by half instead of clearing it on weapon stow. They also upped the duration increase for damaging a player slightly. Guys, Terra buff should be feeling really, really good. I haven't played with Terra buff in this sandbox yet, but I would assume it is feeling very, very good. And I think today inside of comp, we're going to try out Terra buff. Ruinous Effigy increased the damage dealt by Guardians with the Transmutation Sphere by 66%. I don't know if this is necessarily going to make Ruinous Effigy meta, but maybe. Lumina, fellas, they gave a hefty range bump to Lumina, 44 to 59. They also increased the base stability. Now, Lumina is still an awkward weapon to use when you get orbs going and you have someone rushing you, but that range should be making Lumina feel much stickier in those mid ranges. Agar Scepter, by the way, also had a number of things where they rebuilt the perk. Again, the perk would actually diminish super over time with the catalyst once you add the buff. Now, it just freezes your super recharge and just deducts the super directly. Dead Man's Tale. We actually just put out a video on Dead Man's Tale, trying it out for ourselves. So if you want to go check that out, go right ahead. But they reduced the hip fire rate of fire from 150 rounds per minute to 130 rounds per minute. Also, Lawrence Driver and Arbalest is supposed to be receiving more flinch now, but I gotta say, fellas, my face was taken off multiple times yesterday by a Lawrence Driver user, literally while I was blowing my load into his face, and nothing happened. I just died. Also, Forerunner gets more special ammo when you pick up a brick inside of Crucible, or everywhere actually. Now, some other key notes about weapons. Fellwinter's Lie actually has more spread in its shotgun pattern. So if you happen to be shooting a Fellwinter's Lie here recently, and you're like, yo, what the hell? This thing broken? A number of other 150 round per minute hand cannons have also been updated, or previous 150 round per minute hand cannons. Of course, they're 140s now. Dire Promise, Waking Vigil, Jack Queen King, Spare Rations. Someone's gonna ask, are we getting these hand cannons back? Brother, this is Destiny. Of course you're gonna eventually get these back. Igalo's SMG also got a bump there in its zoom, but it's offset by the -5 in its range and a couple other things that hurt its stats. Perks, lots of perk changes that we're just gonna run through real quick. And we talked about this in our random roll video as well, but Hipfire Grip actually got an increase in its damage fall off, so it should be stickier on weapons by 20%. And this does not include shotgun, sniper rifles, and fusion rifles. But maybe, just maybe, you may want to use a weapon with Hipfire Grip. Maybe. Adagio, they increased the duration from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. They also increased the damage bonus, except for on on bow and fusion rifle from 25% to now 30%. They now add a +10 to your range when activating, and they added a timer buff to make it easier to tell you whenever it's going to expire. Now, dual loader. They did reduce the reload stat penalty from -50 to -35. Dual loader may actually be a play now. Danger zone. They reduced the self-damage scaler for grenade launchers. Essentially, danger zone shouldn't kill you. Tap the trigger. Everyone's freaking out. They're like, yo, tap the trigger is garbage now. Listen, it's only bad on fusion rifles, and it's still really good on fusions. Man, I was using main ingredient earlier, and the normal Zero, and I gotta tell you, tap the trigger is still doing very, very well. But as far as every other weapon, tap the trigger is still a very good perk. Eager's Edge. They did reduce the lunge distance while airborne by 25%, and they of course capped out the maximum player airborne velocity. Headseeker also got a buff in its duration from 0.17 seconds to 0.3 seconds, thus allowing it to retain its benefit for multiple bursts. So guys, those are your changes. Everything else is in regards to like Void 3.0 and quality of life changes and Umbral and stuff like that. I'm not going through everything. I just wanted to cover the big ticket items. I hope this video gave you some clarity though on Sandbox Update 4.0.0.1. We'll be testing out everything else, so come check us out live. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.